Hey y'all, my name is Morgan with Morgan on the Violin, and I'm going to review for you today the Shar Franz Hoffman Concert Violin. It's a $300 violin if you buy it standalone, $350 if you get it as a part of their outfit. I have here a review for just the instrument by itself. I purchased this standalone a little over a year ago. This is actually my teaching violin now. I use this violin to teach on. So obviously I'm going to recommend this violin. Actually, if you've been watching any of my other videos, maybe you came to this video from one of my other videos, I use this violin oftentimes as an example to compare lesser quality instruments to, because Shar does a really good job with this instrument. So what's good about it? Pretty much everything. It's, for the price point, I would say it's pretty much perfect. And there's nothing that I can really pick at about this instrument for what you're given, the amount of money you're paying for it. Everything that's done well. So, like, all right, something you need to understand about Shar. Shar and some of the other companies that I tend to recommend, the way they operate. So this violin was, the body, the neck, the construction of it overall was done in like China or Romania, and then it was shipped to Shar, and not shipped to a warehouse to sit and be ignored for months and months and months until somebody finally bought it, but shipped to Shar directly, and then Shar finished the setup on the instrument. So what that means is they actually cut the bridge for this instrument themselves at the Shar workshop in Michigan, I think is where they're located. As a consequence, I have here a bridge that's actually very well cut. So, it's got the proper thickness at the top, proper thickness at the bottom. It's rounded at the top. The string spacings are set correctly. It's not the work of art that I have on my professional violin. This is a $250 bridge cut by a master luthier, very, very carefully. This is, maybe a $50 bridge cut by a skillful luthier in a much, probably shorter amount of time, because, they got a lot of these things to do. But he did it well, or she did it well. It fits the instrument very nicely, and I have absolutely no reason to replace this bridge, which a lot of the instruments that I review that are of this cheaper quality, typically this is like one of the biggest things that just gotta go. You'd have to replace it in order to actually make the instrument reasonably playable. Not with the Shar violins, not with this guy. Another thing that's done right, the sound post is set properly. It's probably set too tight because, that's typically what they do in these instruments, but it's in the proper place. It's a decent sound post. The nut is clean, it's carved well, it's spaced properly. The strings are a good quality string. This instrument comes with a $30 string, Alpha Hue string. I don't remember who the company is who makes them, but it's a really nice string. It has a really nice bright sound to it. So the concert violin itself is already built in a way that makes it very loud and strong sounding, and then the Alpha Hue adds to a nice brightness to all of that. Right now, as a testament to the build quality of this instrument and how well it does in terms of just creating a good tone naturally, I actually have really cheap and old, I think they're just basic like Parastro strings. I can't remember the name, so I'll put it up on the screen. Yeah, even with these cheap $10 strings on here, it still sounds good. It's still a respectable tone. I can tell when I'm actually not getting a good tone out of the violin. It's not because the violin actually can produce a good tone, which is what you want, because it's one of the things beginners are really working on, is being able to produce a good tone. If you don't have a violin that can do that, well, then the student, whoever it is who's playing on it, isn't going to be able to do that very well. Future Morgan here with a quick interlude. One of my students purchased this violin, and she likes it a lot better than what she had, but she did find the tone to be a little bit harsher than she wanted. So one thing that we did do is to swap the Alpha Hue strings out for the D'Addario Prelude strings. It's an extra $17, so it's not too big of an expensive change, but it can help mellow out the tone a little bit if it is a little too harsh sounding. Another thing that's done decently well is it actually is pretty attractive as an instrument. So you can see the back here is done with an actual real varnish. This is actual real solid piece wood rather than a laminate, which you get on cheaper violins. Even some of the cheaper violins from Shar just comes with a laminate for the finish. or rather than having actual plywood, this is real solid wood that they made this instrument out of, which is good for you because it's good quality. It gives better sound quality. The only area where you might have any issue, and I've noticed this with Shar's instruments as well as other retailers that I regularly recommend, because they're trying to keep costs down. They do a bit of a hash job on the pegs in a way that makes them very sticky. So when you first get it, you or your teacher may have a hard time turning the pegs. Those loosen up over time, so it's more of a temporary problem rather than a permanent problem, but it is a problem nonetheless. But it's a $350 instrument. That is still dirt cheap. Just to remind you, I recommend spending no less than $240 on an outfit as a whole. So this is still really close to the bottom of the barrel for price. So for what they're doing really well with this instrument. It really is a solid piece of work. Alrighty. So what else do I want to say? Oh yes, the fingerboard is another thing that they do well. Actually, this fingerboard, you compare it to my professional violin. At a basic level, it compares with my professional violin's fingerboard. So it's well enough cut, well enough carved, and well enough planed that it will actually allow me to play in first through third position pretty easily without having to struggle at all. I don't have to work extra hard with my fingers, which is a common problem I see with the cheaper instruments. Sometimes it's the all four strings, sometimes it's just one string, but I don't have to work. That's not an issue with this fingerboard. This violin, it's set up well enough that it's playable across all four strings very comfortably, very normally. But two, it's also, I can pretty much play this in tune without having to make any significant adjustments to my hand compared to when I'm playing on something that's, more professionally set up. And that's the other thing we want. Because how the fingerboard is shaped can actually impact your ability to play in tune, especially as you start going up higher in position. So yeah, this is a solid beginner's instrument. Not suitable for an intermediate player. Intermediate player is still going to want a nicer instrument, but for a beginner, this is a really solid instrument. This instrument will also work really well for fiddle players. If you're looking for a really cheap fiddle that you can play outdoors, this guy. It's loud, it's bold, and it's got a strong sound to it. And, with the alpha hues, it's got a really nice brass sound. It rings really nicely. You can put other strings on there to get different tone qualities from it as well if you want to. This is a really good fiddle instrument. So, yeah, definitely recommend this instrument. Pretty much anything from Shar you're going to be good to go with. This is kind of what you want to expect in a violin when you're going to buy a beginner instrument. So kudos to Shar for this, and yeah, that's about it. Alright, so the only thing I have left to say is please like the video if you got value out of it and you think it's beneficial for other people to watch it. Please hit subscribe if you think I should keep making videos like this. Helps me, encourages me. And thank you for your time. I do have a Patreon page. If you decide to contribute money through it, it will be used to purchase instruments to review, as well as to help pay for some of my time that goes into making these videos. All right. Thank you.